I think any time you're talking about change is difficult. It's human nature. But I think that all the pieces are coming together.
I believe basically in life, nothing of real consequence ever occurs unless there's cooperation.
Either we get it right during this generation, or we force the next generation to get it right, or the generation that follows. Why not lead? Why not lead? Why not this generation?
I very strongly believe that all of us have a moral obligation when we leave this earth to leave it in good a shape or better shape than we found it. And we just pass on the very best we can to our kids and our grandkids. And I think that's an ethic that's starting to sink in a lot more these days than maybe a few years ago. And I think a lot of it's because of the recognition that climate change is a big problem.
Montana has that ethic. We like clean air, we like clean water, we like good hunting, we like good fishing. All those things go together. We like to be able to hike and enjoy the outdoors and the big sky. And I think we have been leaders. I think we can continue to be leaders. I think we need to be leaders. Because I think things are changing. I think the whole issue around global warming has got people a little bit worried, and we have opportunities to help make some real positive impacts on that. We just need to do it.
We want these communities to be more or less the same for our children and our grandchildren, and a lesson that we've learned from people who have lived on this land in Montana for 10,000 years, the Native Americans, they had a notion about leadership. And that notion was that when you make a decision, don't consider just this generation or the next generation. Consider the 7th generation that follows. If we considered 7 generations that follow us, our children's 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 children, I doubt that we would be developing our energy resources the way we are today.
Frankly, I think the old environmentalist business, one or the other, is nuts. It's nonsense. There are ways to work together.
I think it depends on how well we work together. I think the opportunities are there, the challenges are there. When we go to the gas pump and fill our car up with $3 gasoline, and we have to heat our home at this latitude, it costs a lot of money. That's very painful. But that pain brings around opportunity, and we have to take advantage of that opportunity.
I was the first governor in America to sign on to something called 25 by 25. 25 by 25 is committed to producing 25% of our energy in America in a sustainable and renewable way by the year 2025.
And we're lucky, I think, as Montanans. The trend really in the country now is to move to the heartland. Move to the heartland for energy development. And that's clearly renewable energy, it's wind, it's solar, it's biomass.
I think another term that I would put in there is also diversity. And I think in order to have good economic growth, and you need to have a sustainable economic growth, it has to be, you can't have all your eggs in one basket. It needs to be diverse. And I think we've got tremendous opportunity in this state. If you take a look at energy, the normal energy components are there, the coal, the oil, the gas, we have that in this state. But we also have incredible opportunity in renewable energy, wind, solar, biofuels, ethanol, and the list goes on and on.
I've proposed to this legislature in Montana that we pass clean and green legislation that will give tax incentives to companies that will come to Montana and build clean and green energy projects. Wind power, solar power, electric car manufacturing, wind turbine manufacturing, transmission lines and pipelines that move clean and green energy. Any project that will develop energy without increasing carbon dioxide, we will incent to build in Montana.
I certainly notice that in Washington, D.C., all the committees there, most all, are trying to figure out how we become more energy independent from OPEC, because we don't like being so dependent on OPEC.
We consume 6.5 billion barrels of oil. We import 4 billion of those barrels from rogue regimes, mostly around the world. And as long as we import that oil, as long as we are dependent on their oil, we are going to commit this generation, the next generation, and the generation that follows to go to war to protect our oil resources. Today it's Iraq. Sometime in the future it may be Kazakhstan or Venezuela or Nigeria. When America has these alternative energy resources, why are we dependent on dictators who don't like our way of life? Why are we committing this generation and the next generation to fight these wars?
Probably knock two birds with one stone, and that is make this country energy independent and address the global warming issue.
I, as chairman of the Senate Finance Committee, spent a lot of time in trying to accomplish those objectives, namely, how do we get more independent, and how do we address climate change?
I'll tell you what we need right now. We need young scientists. We need engineers and geologists. The First Lady, my wife Nancy, and myself, both of us are scientists, and we spend a great deal of our time not with university students, but with third graders and fourth graders and fifth graders, because both of us were that age when we decided we wanted to be scientists. So we want to spark that ingenuity, that innovation in young people.
We made a conversion on our farm 20 years ago. There were signs out there, and we saw them and recognized them and made some changes, and it helped us from an environmental standpoint, it helped us from a soil health standpoint, and it's helped us from a profitability standpoint. So it was a win-win deal for us. But making that change was painful, and it wasn't easy. But you've got to understand where you want to go, and where we wanted to go is we wanted to pass the farm off to the fourth generation in as good a shape or better than we got it from our folks, and this is one way to do that.
Download this episode and more TERRA at lifeonterra.com.